Good morning. Welcome to Unitarian Universalist Church West on this great full weekend here in Brookfield, Wisconsin. My name is Jeannie Baker, and I'm one of your Board of Trustees representatives. And yes, this is the second week in a row you've seen me. I'm filling in for somebody today. Otherwise, we don't subject you to the same person twice. In this place, we occupy the traditional territory of the native peoples of the Seven Council Fires, Ho-Chunk, Kickapoo, Potawatomi, Menominee, Peoria, and Miami nations. We acknowledge our need to address racism, which continues to lead to the violent deaths and oppressions of Jews, blacks, indigenous people, and all people of color. We know that anti-Semitism, anti-black racism, and settler colonialism perpetuate inequalities, injustices, poverty, and exclusion in U.S. society. We also acknowledge, as Pride begins, that in these fear-filled, hostile times, our faith continues to be an unapologetic champion for LGBTQIA+ people and their families. May we be those champions. With that knowledge held close, we commit ourselves to becoming an anti-racist faith community dedicated to equality, racial justice, and right relations. Today, we celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Flower Communion and welcoming new members, two in the same ceremony. We are beginning the month of June and our focus on the path of vulnerability. And we have our annual general meeting following the service. Lots happening. It's always wonderful to be together as a loving and evolving community. Some of us in person and some of us out there in the internet. To all of you online, please know that while we can't see you, we know you're there. Wherever we are, however we come together, our hearts and spirits are one. Here are a few things to help you settle in and feel at home. If you're a newcomer in person or with us online, and you'd like to connect further, please talk to me after service. I'll be in line with Reverend Julian outside the door, or send an email to visitor@uucw.org. Or use the welcome side of the yellow form that you receive when you enter the sanctuary. You can put that form in the offering basket. This new paragraph, this is the last regular Sunday for our religious education classes. Next week, summer RE programming begins, so rest assured that we're welcoming our youngest throughout the summer. There will be a time in the service today for spoken joys and concerns. All of you out there in virtual land can participate by sending a text to Reverend Julian, so you might want to write down this number. And of course, those of you here in person can go to the side table to light a candle or put the share form in the box anytime. There's coffee and tea after the service today to get us all pumped up and refreshed for the annual meeting. If you'd like a quieter space for conversation, you're welcome to stay in the sanctuary or get your coffee and head up to another room. I want to highlight just a couple of things. We don't have a lot of announcements today, but of course the big one is at 11:30 we will start the annual meeting. Why exactly 11:30? Because we have to coordinate with our online presence. So we'll finish the service, we'll have coffee and tea, and then we're back in here. I also want to highlight the banned book event we had yesterday that seemed like it was really well received. Big round of applause for the people who participated in that. And I also want to remind you of I don't have what it's called in front of me, the services, what are we calling it? The offsite, the destination services that are going to happen this summer, and the dates and times are in your service. It's always a privilege to explore and create meaning in the company of others. Now let's enter in this time set aside for our hearts and our minds. Thank you.
Our opening words help to prepare us for this sacred time together. This morning, hear these words of Elizabeth Strong, written for a morning such as this. Enter into the communion of flowers with joyful hearts. Enter with reverent thoughts. It has taken long months beneath cold ground for these flowers to prepare their blooming, and it has taken each of us long times of growth through sorrow and joy to prepare for our living now. The blooming season is short. The flowers stay only a brief time. We are travelers upon the earth, travelers through all too brief lifetimes. Therefore, let our moments be bountiful. Let us rejoice in our unique colors, aromas, and sounds. Let us celebrate together in love. As we travel away, we will take with us the memory of golden hours together among the flowers. So come, let us worship together. We're going to begin by lighting our chalice.
When Unitarian Universalists gather, we light a chalice, our call to pay attention. This is our sacred fire. Today's chalice lighting words, printed in your order of service, were written by Reverend Susan Frederick Gray. If you're at home, I invite you to light a chalice as we read these words together. As we light our chalice this morning, may we be mindful of how radical and powerful love is, and how dangerous those who use fear perceive love to be. May we know how necessary and essential it is to keep alive the message of universal love, of humanity and human dignity, of reverence for life, all creation in our hearts and in our actions. We are now among the keepers of that flame. With these words reminding us that we are keepers of the flame of love, we light our chalice.
So Dave Mallet wrote the Garden Song way back in 1975. It's been sung millions of times, perhaps most famously by Pete Seeger. He gave us permission to sing it today. So if you want to drum or rattle or shake, head over to the worship exploration table and get an instrument, and Maria and Ruben will lead us in singing it. Please rise in body and or spirit. So this ritual communion, the flower communion, it was developed by Maya and Norbert Capek, two Unitarian ministers, in June of 1923 for the Unitarian Church in Prague, now in the Czech Republic. You'll hear more about this later. For now, it's enough to know that they created a ritual in which the congregation each brought a flower to share. Our flowers represent the unique beauty of each individual and the wonderful patterns that emerge when we come together. We bring flowers as symbols of bringing the whole of our unique selves to this community, and later we take a flower to represent the numberless gifts we receive from this community, gifts that sometimes challenge us and sometimes delight us. You've placed flowers representing all of who we are and all of what we bring in vases in the foyer as you came in. And I'd like to ask our children and youth, while they are already there, to go to the foyer to carry them in, and Dave is going to help them. As the flowers are brought in, Ruben will play. Consider how each vase, while one bouquet, holds colors that don't match, flowers of different sizes, and blooms that we appreciate more than others. This is the wholeness of who we are. for these gathered flowers, for their cacophony of beauty, and for all that they represent. We give thanks.
Good morning. I'm Dave Cicero, Director of Lifespan Religious Education here at Unitarian Universalist Church West. My pronouns are he and his. And today, I'll be reading and showing you parts of the book When the Sakura Bloom by Narisa Togo. It's centered around the sakura, or the Japanese cherry blossom. While highly admired for its beauty and an important symbol in Japanese culture, it, like many flowers, only lives for a short time each year. Still, festivals are held throughout Japan every spring to signal that it's time for farmers to plant their crops, to celebrate the change of seasons, and to remind everyone that our time on this earth is not so long either. When the sakura bloom. Hustle, bustle, hurry, dash. It's a mid-March morning, and people are making their usual rush to the station. I need to take an early train today, thinks a young lady as she quickens her pace. Not looking forward to that math test, says a girl to herself, dragging her feet. Why am I always late, thinks a boy as he sprints past. The next morning, it starts again. People striving to catch their train, all buttoned up against the late winter chill, their eyes fixed on what lies ahead. The wind is still cold, but little by little, the days are getting longer and warmer. The sakura trees understand this all too well. They know it's time to prepare for spring. Their once bare branches are now bursting with red ochre, buds turning pistachio green. And from these lively buds emerge the pale pink petals of the sakura flowers, which keep unfolding until each has the full 5 petals of the cherry blossom. It's Monday morning again. Hustle, bustle, hurry, dash. As usual, everyone's rushing to the station. Hey, look what I found. A young girl stops to pick up a blossom dropped by a sparrow. Something is a little different this morning. People rushing for the station pause for a moment. Spring has come, and a man takes a photo. Young woman can't take her eyes off the blossoms. Oh, the sakura flowers make me feel so happy. And so the sakura festivals begin. As the weekend arrives, so do the crowds. Lunch under the trees brings a fine, festive feeling. The girl lies on her back. Hey, look at that pink ceiling. Late afternoon, the wind starts to blow. Whistling, howling, whipping, it brings drenching rain. By night, it has become a fierce storm. The next morning, no more pink ceiling. There's a pink carpet instead. The Sakura Festival is over. So brief and so beautiful. A few days pass. Hustle, bustle, hurry, dash. It's a mid-April morning now. People are making their usual rush to the station. I need to take an earlier train today, thinks a young lady as she quickens her pace. A girl pauses to look up into the sakura trees. Oh, they're all leaves now. The end. So I wonder if you recognized yourself or anyone you know in anybody pictured in that story. hustling up and down the street, or stopping to take notice of the beautiful flowers that are there, or taking the time to spend with family and friends. Today in their religious education classes, children and middle school youth will learn a bit more about the origin of the UU flower ceremony, and then return to the sanctuary here to participate in the conclusion of ours. So I invite Elliot to come light our lantern. And if you join me in singing. As you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go, as you go, may joy surround you. As you go, go in peace. Know our love is with you always. As you go, as you go.
I love that story and that reminder to pause, to admire, to appreciate. Today, we're pausing, I think, to take a moment because it's with great pleasure that we welcome and celebrate the people who've made the decision to become members of our congregation. Larry Hawley's here representing our membership team, and I will lead you together with him in this joyful welcoming ceremony.
Nice to have the flowers, too.
Oh, you might not be on. There you go.
The decision to join this church is an important one, for it indicates our desire to make a change in how we lead our lives. It means we are members of a community that dreams together, works together, laughs together, and learns together. In community, we welcome babies into the world, and when someone dies, our grief is shared too. At the heart are the relationships we create with one another, relationships dedicated to building a beloved community. Therefore, it is with great joy that we recognize our relationships with these newest members of our church community. Will you please come forward as I call your names? Sam Schilling, John and Natalie Denboer, and Marjorie Powell, who is away and cannot be with us, but she signed the book a week ago or whatever.
I think they're going to stand in front of the piano, are they? They are. Yeah, come on over. Stand in front of the piano, then we can see you good. That's great. So, Sam and Natalie and John, when you join this church, you become part of a liberal religious community that believes in accepting differences in love. You become part of a community that believes it's important to step out and stand up for values of religious freedom and for justice. You're part of a community that believes our relationships with one another are a primary source of spiritual growth and intellectual delight. And by bringing your gifts and your presence here, you help to keep liberal religion fresh and alive. Our church and its activities are open to everyone, but when you join officially, you gain precious and important rights. You gain the right to vote in our most critical decisions, a voice in shaping our future, and the authority to become a leader among us. And your choice to become a member has an impact on every member here, reminding all of us of our decision, however long ago, to become a member of this congregation or to become a Unitarian Universalist. In this ceremony, each member recommits themselves to the work of the church.
We encourage all of our members to participate regularly in our congregational life, to develop their spirituality and deepen their understanding of our Unitarian Universalist tradition, to support the church with their gifts and skills and financial resources, and to allow the church to support them as they move through their life's journey.
And we also expect our members, new members and old members alike, to bring their ideas and energy to the table, because each person brings so much to our shared ministry and our relationships. So Sam and John and Natalie, the gifts of your minds and spirits will help keep this community flexible and strong. And the beauty of your hearts and your compassion will help us to grow in diversity and grace. Your knowledge and support will help us rise to the challenges of this changing world, and we're so glad that you're with us.
Way to work together.
Great examples of shared ministry here. It's great.
I'd like to invite all of our members, including our new members, to speak together our church mission statement, which is printed in your order of service.
Unitarian Universalist Church West is a congregation of adults, youth, and children, diverse in identity and beliefs. We strive for honest, caring relationships that inspire and enable spiritual and ethical growth. We promote religious freedom and engage in a shared search for personal and collective meaning. We serve our larger world by practicing compassion and working for justice. And John and Natalie and Sam are all going to now sign our membership book as a symbol of their commitment to our community and our covenant, and Larry's going to give them a gift, and as we do that, Ruben's going to play. Love that. That's great, thank you. Oh, yeah. Hey, John, come back. That's great, thank you. That's okay, I'll get it later, thanks. And now will those members present please rise in body and or spirit and with me read the words printed in your order of service welcoming these newest members. We welcome you to membership in our Unitarian Universalist Church West. Our lives are made richer because you are here. May you find comfort and challenge in this community and help us to grow in harmony and understanding. May you learn and grow here and help us to nurture compassion and action. May you find deep friendship and take joy in the great work of the Unitarian Universalist community. Welcome. Now you can sit down. After the service, I encourage you all to make a special point to meet them, to greet them, to welcome them. And you've already applauded for them. It's so great that they're part of this community now. So we move on.
Do I need to? Is that clear? Thank you. Reverend Carol Martin Naukow wrote this just last month to commemorate Flower Communion's 100th anniversary. She begins. It's a reading from the sacred book of nature, that is the first scripture which we learned to read even before the invention of words or books. Once upon a time, long, long ago, it so happened, we don't know why,
but way back about 250 million years ago in the middle of the Mesozoic era, Earth invented flowers. Suddenly, at least in terms of geologic time, after hundreds of millions of years during the shift from the Carboniferous to the Cretaceous mode, the ever-creative spirit of life that some called God, or that process theologian Henry Nelson Wyman calls the creative interchange, decided Earth needed redecorating, maybe bored with the Jurassic landscape. Earth's decision to blossom changed everything. Seeds had existed for some time, such as those in spores or pine cones, but they depended upon the wind or animals to transport and pollinate. Flowering was a plant's way of forming a fruit to protect their seeds, a more successful pollination and reproduction process. So it was that gradually the first angiosperms developed and prevailed, spreading across the earth, until about 125 million years ago, give or take a day or two. During the Middle to Upper Cretaceous period, fruit-bearing seeds began wildly diversing, surpassing ferns, conifers, or evergreens as the dominant form of plant life, and it was beautiful. Evolution went right on. Developing an equally diverse insect population helped pollinate the flowers, inventing insects that do much of the heavy work of pollination, and without them or the flowers, there would be no food. You probably know the quote by Emerson, "Earth laughs in flowers." Can't you just see it? Earth as a living organism suddenly bursting into laughter, surprised into joy by its invention of flowers, not knowing it would lead to the many varieties of flowers we know today. Flowers in the long and creative run of evolutionary time gave rise to other forms of life, including mammals and eventually, most recently, humankind. Why do I tell this story? Flowers are not just ornamental, bringing us joy or comfort, decorating our lives, though for sheer beauty they are beyond extravagant. We owe them our lives, for without them, so many other forms of life, including the human, would not exist. We're not only intimately related to them, we and our animal kin depend upon them for our very own food. In this interconnected web of existence, of which we are a part, flowers are our ancestors, and we hopefully bear a likeness to them. So it may be true, as the Japanese Zen master Roshi Soen Nakawaga wrote, "In a blossoming universe, all beings are flowers."
All beings are flowers. We are intimately and directly related to all that is, as well as to each other. And we enter now a time of sharing of joys and sorrows and gratitudes that touch our individual lives. One way to express through ritual the many ways that we are connected. In a moment, you'll be invited to come to the mic to share aloud. Those present online can send me a text if you'd like to share. And again, that number is 2. Or if you have something you'd rather not share aloud, you can use the QR code on the order of service, or those in the sanctuary can use the share side of the yellow slip to put something in writing. And if you need a writing instrument, raise your hand and I think someone will get you one. And at any time during the week, you can use the link in the e-news to let us know what's on your heart. Remember that what you share is only for the ears of those gathered now. It will not be posted in the video of the service or shared in our e-news unless you indicate that you want it to be shared there. So now, come to the mic to speak or raise your hand and an usher will bring you a mic and I'll light a candle for you, and after each sharing, I'll invite you to respond with me. We hold you in love. So you can form a line or come to this side if you'd like to share.
Good morning. I'm Beth And yesterday it would have been a concern, but today it's a joy. that I made it to Soldier Field with my twins and their friend to see Taylor Swift. And we made it. And I'm not familiar with Chicago, so it was a great day, but I'm relieved, and I'm glad they went. Also, I started a new job this week, and I really needed a job. And it's with a chiropractor I've been with for 18 years. She took care of me when I was pregnant with my twins. She takes care of babies and all kinds of people. So I'm feeling so blessed to be a part of a team of healers. Let's see. Also, a few months ago, I told you that I was about to be legally separated, and that February date was not successful, but my April 5th hearing was. So although my husband, it's been a emotionally difficult 20 years, but should be moving soon, and I'm just feeling really good. And I just want to thank all of you. I've just had so much compassion and listening and love from this community, and I want to thank you all. And finally, I'm just also joyful. I'll be going to see my parents in Philadelphia with my children, and I'll be at the beach soon, so I won't see you next week, but thank you all.
We hold you in love.
So I'm going to continue on that theme of a concern turned to a joy. Tuesday night, my husband, your trustee member, Steve White, had what we thought was a stroke. He's here, look. So he's okay. I am just deeply grateful for having, amazing regional medical center here in the greater Milwaukee area. He had a TIA, we discovered an underlying condition, and we are now on a path to be able to stave off a really big stroke. So just really grateful, and thank you, Julie, for your support on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday. And so thanks.
We hold you in love.
Hello, Julie Mayhew. I have a joy. I have a joy that my youngest son, Colin, just graduated from college with honors, and especially Colin needed an IEP in third and fourth grade, and just appreciating that struggle parents go through to help their child become all they can be, no matter where they're at in their learning process. And the fact that he graduated magna cum laude, I'm just so incredibly proud. But also, that reflection that many of us have as well of our children. They're all out in the world and seeking their own truth and mission and values, and so that's a huge joy.
I have another graduation of sorts. A couple weeks ago, I talked about my daughter getting her master's degree, and next weekend, her husband will finish his residency program, which I guess is not exactly graduation, but he didn't get a full ceremony when he graduated from medical school because of COVID, so it's kind of a big deal. And we're so grateful to have him as part of our family. We love him so much, and so a candle of joy for our son-in-law.
Lynn Capitan. I have a joy. Yesterday, I spent the day, I spent part of the day at Three Bridges Park in downtown Menominee Valley, and it's their 10th anniversary. It was created 10 years ago. And if you were ever there or tried to get there 10 years ago, it was a horribly degraded, environmentally degraded part of our city. And it is such a beautiful place. It's like a miracle that it exists. It was created by all kinds of legal coordination of who owns it and how do we make it happen. Tons of people who are down there celebrating that. It's a miracle. And if you've never been to Three Bridges Park, please go enjoy it. It's gorgeous. And would you also please light, in case we don't get to it, a candle of love for Pride, all of the courageous, incredibly courageous and beautiful people who have gone on a path of living their authentic lives and looking for and finding support among communities like this one to be able to live that life. So please, in gratitude and also with care and concern and love.
Thank you, Lynn, for lighting a candle for Pride, and I'll just add the prayer for everyone's safety and protection in these days. And I also want to light a candle for World Environment Day, which is coming up this week. And definitely a candle to welcome our new members. It's so fun to be part of the new member classes with them and hear their stories and get to know them. And I hope that you all get to know them very well. And I didn't receive any texts this morning, but I'm going to light a candle for all of those who are with us online. Just want you to know that we know you're out there. We love you. We light this candle for you. And finally, just one more candle to represent all of the unspoken joys and sorrows that I know each of us hold in our hearts, with a prayer that they'll be held gently, that you'll be held gently by the love of this community. Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of love and life, great mystery. We gather today in the presence of beauty, both ever-present and impermanent. May we see and acknowledge all that we encounter with gratitude, with humility. May we rest in the mystery that is unknowable, holding fast to each other, knowing that there is a love holding us that will not let us go. Amen. So you've heard that Norbert Capek and his wife created the first flower communion. Just recently, this song, which was apparently written in Dachau, was discovered. So I invite you to stand in body and or spirit. The words are printed for you, and Ruben and Maria will lead us in learning and singing this song.
Which is to come has been my only shrine.
So briefly, let me tell you a bit more about the history of flower communion. And I draw upon a paper written by Petr Dolak-Smažky, who's a Czech Unitarian minister. 100 years ago this month, the tradition of flower communion started in 1923 in the Unitarian Church in Prague, a congregation that was becoming the largest Unitarian church in the world. And the founder of that church was Norbert Fabian Capek. Ordained as a Baptist minister, Capek became involved in the religious revival of the Czechoslovak Republic, and through his work, his religious convictions became progressively more liberal and anti-clerical. And he was convinced that as humans, we have the potential to learn and to grow into the great art of living. He saw the church community as the only thing, he saw the church community as the same thing for a city as the conscience is for a person. Now, the tradition of flower communion has its roots in Capek's ideal of harmony among people. He felt people needed a symbolic ritual that would bind them more closely together, and his priority was to emphasize our common identity and the presence of the holy. Now, Maya Capek met and married Norbert Capek when he traveled to the U.S., and she was Capek's companion in building the Czech Unitarian Church. She returned to the U.S. in 1940 because of the war and introduced the flower communion to the first parish church in Cambridge in 1940. Then in March of 1941, Norbert and his daughter were arrested by the Gestapo, who confiscated his books and his sermons. He was charged with listening to foreign broadcasts, which was a capital crime, and he was taken to the Dachau concentration camp, where he was tortured and eventually gassed late in 1942. Now, from its beginning, the flower communion has been held every year by all Czech Unitarian communities, except in times of difficulties. And after the Second World War, it became a special commemoration of Capek's tragic death. Now, Ruben, with Maria's help, has offered to share Ruben's original work called Capek's Journey.
Of religion, my passion, love of learning was deep in my heart. But as I learned, I questioned. The priests were not the saints I expected. Rome came to Slavic lands unbidden. There was much they taught I rejected. Something didn't feel right in my head or in my heart. I knew that reason and love are the only place to start. I wanted freedom, respect for my heritage, to decide for myself what to believe. The Catholic Church shut down questions, so as missionaries spread the word. Choose to be baptized when we're ready and build God's kingdom on earth. One where all feels right in my head and in my heart. I know that reason and love are the only place to start. We need a new kind of religion based on freedom and love and reason, grounded in our history, not imposed, free from Rome and free for Jesus. My head says there's one God, not three. My heart tells me that God loves us all. My soul grounds me in my native country, so I'll build a new church on our soil. One where all feels right in my head and in my heart. I know that reason and love are the only place to start.
Thank you, and I don't think it says this in the order of service, but that piece is part of a larger cantata that Ruben has worked on with a couple of other people in the last couple of years, and hopefully we'll do it all here, maybe next year. It's great. There is so much to say about this ritual and about its history. It's really a beautiful thing. Taking all that into consideration, though, there are really just two things I want to say this morning. Remember, first, Reverend Carol Martignaco's words in the reading that Karen shared. Reverend Carol wrote, "Earth's decision to blossom changed everything. Flowering was a plant's way of forming a fruit to protect their seeds, a more successful pollination and reproduction process. Earth, as a living organism, suddenly burst into laughter, surprised into joy by its invention of flowers, not knowing that it would give rise to other forms of life, including mammals and eventually, most recently, humankind. We owe flowers our lives." It's kind of like flowers are our ancestors. And isn't our lack of awareness of this incredible process in history so like many other ways that we relate in modern life? We tend to use things and even people to satisfy ourselves, to ornament our lives, to experience beauty, and we do this without pausing and paying full attention to our direct evolutionary dependence on all that is and all that came before all that is. We are all connected. We're deeply connected to flowers, and not just to flowers, to everything. They're our kin. And seeing it this way can hopefully bring more respect, more reverence, more humility to all our relationships. And the second thing I want to say is that flowers are fragile, or maybe better, they're transient. They have a purpose, which when combined with all the other flowers that have bloomed and died over the millennia have done great things, bringing color to the world, providing beauty and pollen and seeds. As individuals, it may seem that they don't accomplish much, but in their own individual brief shining moment, they contribute to our incredible interdependent system of giving and receiving. They do their small part in a big way. And the same is true for us. We are transient. We have but a brief shining moment of time, and there is yet so much that we can contribute. Do you know this poem? It's one of my favorites by Donna Markova. She says, "I will not die an unlived life. I will not live in fear of falling or catching fire. I choose to inhabit my days, to allow my living to open me, to make me less afraid, more accessible, to loosen my heart until it becomes a wing, a torch, a promise. I choose to risk my significance, to live so that what comes to me as seed goes on to the next as blossom, and that which comes to me as blossom goes on in fruit." Like a flower, we exist because of a seed that was passed on, and we can bloom in extravagant or quiet ways, and we will pass on our seed so that together, over time, amazing things come into being. We are impermanent, as is everything, and yet we matter greatly. The beauty of each flower, each life, is enhanced by its fragility. A great paradox, really. Our beauty is revealed in our temporary existence, and our strength is found in making colorful, interdependent bouquets together. We owe our lives to the flowers, and in return, they offer us so much beauty. Like us, they're impermanent, and in their vulnerability, they show us how to live, taking what comes to us as seed, blossoming as best we can, and passing it on. You are beautiful. May it ever be so. Amen.
Hi, I'm Julie Tolman for Split the Plate, and the Metropolitan Milwaukee Fair Housing Council is a nonprofit civil rights agency that combats housing discrimination and fosters racially and economically integrated neighborhoods. Today, we welcome Sarah Jenkins, Program Manager of the Outreach and Education Program for the Fair Housing Council. She will share with us how protecting the rights of housing consumers can help create vibrant, inclusive communities where everyone has a chance to thrive. And here's Sarah.
Well, thank you so much, and I want to first, of course, say on behalf of the Fair Housing Council, thank you. We are so honored to be selected as your Split the Plate partner for this month, so thank you so much for your generosity. So the place that you call home, whether that's an apartment you rent or a house that you own, that's not just an address. It's not just a structure that you live in, right? The place that you call home is the way that you connect to things like quality education for your children, or job opportunities, or amenities and resources and services like grocery stores and parks, right? And so what fair housing is really about is that it's not enough to simply make sure that everyone has a roof over their head. Rather, it's about making sure that everyone has equal opportunity to live somewhere where they have access to the things that they need to thrive and succeed in life. So when you support fair housing, what you're supporting is the ability to find a safe, stable place to live, and the ability to live somewhere that is a thriving, vibrant community, that right and that opportunity exists for everyone, right? Regardless of the color of your skin, regardless of what you believe, regardless of who you love or how you identify. That's what we're fighting for at the Fair Housing Council. And I just want to share with you briefly the story of a family that we recently helped. So we had a family come to us who owns their own home, and they have 3 young children, all who have autism. And part of the challenge that they face is that when the children are playing outside, they often want to wander off, right, which poses a safety hazard. And so they wanted to put up a fence to help protect their children, but they live in a neighborhood with an HOA, and the HOA said, no, you're not allowed to put up a fence. But the law says that when you have a disability, you have the right to ask for accommodations to make your home accessible. So we stepped in and we stood up for their rights, and because of our assistance, a judge just recently ruled that this family can build their fence. So that's just an example of the kind of work that we do to help make sure that all children have the ability to grow up in safe, healthy environments. So again, thank you so much for your support, and I will be staying after the services, so if you have any questions about fair housing, come up and say hi. Thank you.
And Sarah's been kind enough to leave some information handouts in the community room, so they'll be there for the next couple of weeks, so feel free to choose some of those. Okay, here at UUCW, Split the Plate is our way to fulfill our UU values and reach out to the community. If you are participating virtually, go to the website, UUCW, click on Donate, and select Split the Plate from the menu. Or you can text or donate or mail your donation today using the information found here. I thank you for your generosity to the Metropolitan Milwaukee Fair Housing Council, and we gratefully accept your offering.
I love that piece. Thanks, Ruben. So we have welcomed our whole community, all ages, back into the sanctuary for our flower communion. It's so great to all be together. So there was really this great resource provided for today's flower communion celebration that was gathered by a bevy of folks from the UUA and around the world because of the 100-year celebration. And one of those resources is this song, which was written this year by Amanda Udis Kessler. And again, Ruben and Maria will lead us in learning and singing, so please rise in body and or spirit to sing. So here in front of us, we have this glorious representation of community, a community of flowers, each one unique and each contributing to the whole, and a community of people who bring together our pain as well as our joy, our struggles as well as our breakthroughs, our darkness as well as our light. Whenever Dr. Capek conducted his flower communion in Prague, he would speak words as he blessed the flowers, words that I share now. I invite you to look at these gathered flowers with these words of blessing. Spirit of life, we ask a blessing on these messengers of fellowship and love. May they remind us, amid diversities of knowledge and of gifts, to be one in desire, affection, and devotion. May they also remind us of the value of comradeship, of doing and sharing alike. May we cherish friendship as a most precious gift. May we not let awareness of another's talents discourage us or sully our relationship, but may we realize that whatever we do, great or small, the efforts of all of us are needed to do our work in the world. So the flowers are blessed, and in just a moment, you'll be invited to come to take a flower. Let me offer just a few suggestions to help us move around the room easily, knowing that however it all works out is embraced in the whole of who we are. So I'd like you to just kind of think of a circular procession coming down this aisle and past the flowers and then back up that aisle to your seats. Those of you in these two sections, obviously you can funnel into this aisle and just come right up, but over there you're going to need to go around the back and down this aisle. When the music begins, we're going to start with our children and youth. And as they come, those on this side by the piano, of course, can come around and join them down this aisle, and then those of you in these two sections can come as just taking care of each other as you do that. Take a flower and then continue on in the same direction. If you're unable to come up, please ask your neighbor to get a flower for you. And folks online, perhaps as we do this, perhaps you can just step outside and pick up a sprig or a flower or a leaf and enjoy it. So come, the flowers are ready for you. So take that flower that you've chosen, hold it in front of you, take a good look at it. Just pause and admire its beauty, its imperfection, its color. Offer it a word of thanks for what it is, just as it is, for just like you. These flowers, the one you hold, are gifts of countless value, and just like you, these flowers are both beautiful and fragile. They will not last, but like you, they are messengers of mystery and wonder, blooming in their time. Blessed be these flowers, and blessed be this community. Now, for those of you online, note that our annual meeting will be streamed right from the page that you're on currently, but you will need to refresh your page. The website will update just really soon at about 11:20 with the new link, and we'll start at about 11:45. So take a break, get your coffee, and come back for the annual meeting at 11:45. I invite you to stand for our closing words, if you're able and willing. And even though you have a flower in your hand, perhaps you would even take the hand of your neighbor. This time together matters. It changes us. These are the words of Richard S. Gilbert. May the blessing of the flowers be upon you. May their beauty beckon you each morning and their loveliness lure you into each day. May their tenderness caress you at night. And may their delicate petals make you gentle, their eyes make you aware, and their stems make you sturdy. And their reaching, may it make you care. We need this religion based in reason and justice and love, so go now and be the blessing and the beauty that you are. Blessed be. Amen. Ashe.